Hello everyone, good afternoon from the Nürburgring. It's round 6 of the Ferrari Challenge and is part of the Ferrari Racing Day spectacular event here in Germany. As you can see, many people here to enjoy the atmosphere that's been created at the circuit in the Eifel region of Germany. And well, what a beautiful day we've had weather-wise, and well, we've been to Mugello, Balaton, Jerez, Portimao, La Castellet. Here we are in Nürburgring, and up next, the Emilia-Romagna region of Italy for the finale Mondiali events, of which tickets are on sale right now if you would like to go. This circuit then, 5.148 kilometers, 3.2 miles, 15 turns, 6 left, 9 right-handers. And it's a testing circuit for our Shell and 488 drivers that will be out on track in moments from now. There you can see the chicane that the drivers will approach off the back straight of the circuit. The track temperature is 35 degrees, air temperature is 19, and there's just 4 kilometers per hour of wind around. That's it. That's the way the weather looks. And there we can see some of the supporters then that have really enjoyed the, and it is a spectacle when the Ferrari Racing Days comes into town, because not only do you have the Ferrari Challenge Racing, but you have all the other Corsa Clienti programs as well, including the F1 Clienti and the remarkable XX programs and Sport Prototipi as well. But it's all about, as far as we're concerned, the Shell race and the 488 race, which is about to take to the track. There will be some, well, 27 or so cars out there on the track. And one of those drivers who will be entertaining us, I feel sure, is from Gome Motorsport Engsler, a local driver, and that is Thomas Loflad, who we would like to hear from very, very soon. Meantime, let's take a look inside the John Dillon car with his driver coach, Matt Griffin, in conversation with him. But let's meet Thomas Loflad now.
One of my dreams since I was a little child. And to become a racing driver is just such a big dream, I think, for many, many, many people. Honestly, I'm German, but it's my first time here at the Nürburgring. Yeah, really? You haven't been aware of this, I could have told you before. It's really driving a lot of racetracks all over the world, but it's my first race here in the Nürburgring. Unbelievable, right? So the challenge is even much bigger because I'm German, everybody expects me to be good here, but it's new for me. It's a great family and we become part of it. Because that's the big difference between the Ferrari Challenge and other racing series. So in other racing series you have your competitors and you don't speak much together, and here in Ferrari Challenge you become friends. So over years you always have the same guys you drive against with, and even though we are competitors we became friends, and really such a big family where you're in. 296 Challenge. It's such an amazing car, and really it's all the performance, the design, the sound, everything. I really love my baby. It's such an amazing car, and it's such a fun to drive, and the performance is really incredible.
And it was such a fun time to sit and spend some time with Thomas Loflad. He is a fantastic driver and a fantastic character as well. So thank you, Thomas, for taking time to be with us. Alexander Nussbaumer is another driver that we saw just a moment ago in the 136 car. Driving the 132 car that we can see is Tibor Valent. Now, it's a real family affair for Tibor Valent for Ferrari Budapest and Rosso Corsa, because his son, Benz Valent, races. In fact, took P2 in the last race that was on track here this afternoon. So, as I say, a family affair for the Valent family. Motohiko Isazaki, another one of our drivers in the Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell. And yeah, he is a driver that really wears his heart on his sleeve in terms of enjoying the passion of Ferrari. And Thomas Loflad indicated there, Nico, the family atmosphere, and you can kind of tell that from the assembly of people down there on the grid.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's something that we extol the virtues of this paddock with all across our categories. And one of the drivers, Motohiko Isazaki, who is part of the Coppa Shell this year, he was Shell Am champion, and you can tell when the Coppa Shell Am, his previous category, is on the track, and the car drivers go out towards the grid. There he is. He is there and applauding to the drivers of his previous category, even when he is not even involved in the race. I mean, that is just an expression of respect, camaraderie. I mean, it speaks for itself.
It does indeed, and you know what? I can say with all honesty, as we take a look at our new new shot of Manuela Gosner there, the Ineco Reporter Course Ram driver. 14, 15 years ago, when I was first invited into this family, of which you were responsible, everyone said, once you're working with Ferrari, you'll join a family. And yeah, that's hyperbole. That's not true. And having been involved in motorsport for more years than most people will care to remember, I can say with some conviction that it is absolutely true, Nico. And I think you and I, we're very privileged because we get to experience that. But you too could experience it. Buy a ticket for Finale Mondiali and come and see just what Ferrari has to offer, because it's awesome, isn't it?
Absolutely, and I mean the Ferrari Racing Days, you already said it, and you can see the grandstands, so many people who come here. It's amazing, but it's nothing compared to the World Finals, which over 5-6 days really brings together everything. We will have the 499P, which won them all again. Featured within the Ferrari show, but maybe even in some other capacity. I mean, breathtaking.
Let's take a look at what we can expect, though, for next year. I often say about the Finale Mondiali, of which we were talking just a few moments ago, every year I fly away from that event thinking it can never be any bigger and better than this. And every year it is. And wow, the calendar for 2025 looks utterly intriguing. And it will kind of kick off with the winter warm-up, won't it, in Jeddah on the Corniche circuit. That is going to be something special. And then so many great circuits that we will be visiting in 2025, and some really intriguing double headers in terms of countries that we stay in. So yeah, going to be amazing. John Dillon is going from P2 on the grid for Great Paul Nottingham. Henri Acide, who was crowned the Shell champion yesterday, goes from pole position. For our 488 drivers, it's Sven Schomer from Ferrari Katowice that will be going from P1. I remind you, we have two classes racing in the one race. The Shell drivers are driving the 296 Challenge car. You can identify them from the yellow strip across the top of the windscreen. And then we also have the last hurrah, if you will, for our Ferrari 488 Challenge Evo drivers. And we have a goodly number of those that sport a blue strip across the top of the windscreen. And Pino Frascaro is one of them, as is Germano Salernitano and Niels Sebranson. They go from P24 and P23. Tommy Lindroth, yesterday's race winner, and Quinn Wittlersbach, P22 and 21, with Alexei Komarov and Friedrich Müller going from P20 and P19. Sven Schomer goes from P18, and then we see the car of Ken Abe, one of our Shell drivers, Ernst Kirkmeyer and Michael Martin, also in the Shell category. Then it's Christoph Herney and Thomas Loflad, who we heard from just a few moments ago, P14 and 13. Von Skeltmar, P12, Thomas Gosner is alongside in P11. Then we see Ray Acosta and Motohiko Isasaki, P10 and P9. They're on row 5. On row 4, Tibor Valint and Manuela Gosner. To the sharp end of the grid, row 3, Andrzej Lewandowski, very impressive yesterday. Alexander Nussbaumer alongside him. James Wyland, welcome back, James, and Andreas Rizzi. They are P4 and 3. And on the front row, it's John Dillon going from P2 and Henri Acide going from P1. Well, Dillon didn't have the best of luck yesterday. Will he right the wrongs of yesterday today? Well, we will find out in around about 30 minutes plus 1 lap when the race reaches its conclusion. But before it does that, we've got a lot of racing to come, and only right and proper that we hear from our pole sitter, Henri Acide.
Nice pole position. It's, I think, 4 pole position in a row. Not too bad for an old guy like me. So I hope tomorrow wins this race. Saturday, and why not Sunday again? Thank you.
Well, you wouldn't bet against it, truthfully. Henri Acide, he's been really, really dominant during the course of this year, and that's the reason he is the champion, of course. So Henri Acide going from P1, John Dillon from P2, then it's Andreas Rizzi and James Wyland. It's a warm welcome back to James Wyland, who we had a conversation with last evening, along with his driver coach, Conrad Grunewald. Nico.
Yeah, we did, and it was really, really nice. Just an extension of the great people here in this paddock. Henri Acide, we heard from him, talk about race wins. Didn't get the race win yesterday.
Oh,
he did get the championship yesterday, however. So all the championships are sealed, both in the 488, where Fabrizio Fontana, who's missing from this round, has already clinched the championship. Henri Acide did it yesterday, which sometimes it just helps, you know, strategy a little bit more out the window. You have one race, it's all on the track, no points, just focus and fun.
Tommy Lindroth in the 488 won yesterday. Big man took a big win, and I have to say, you know, Tommy, it's so unfair in so many regards to highlight just a few people, because every driver is a character in their own right, but Tommy is one of the bigger ones, that's for sure, and he was absolutely thrilled, and I was so looking forward to his race win interview, knowing that sometimes Tommy can be colourful, and but actually he was it was like he'd just come out of media training school. He was word perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he was also a little bit exhausted. And there we have one driver diving into the pit lane, and I'm not quite sure who that was.
No, me neither. Wonder if it was Kirkmeyer, was it? Anyway, let's focus on the start. Lights on the top of the screen for you. And as the lights go out, we go racing. So heading down into turn number 1 here at the Nürburgring, which is something of a funnel. Now this is where John Dillon really got called out yesterday, and then into turns 2 and 3. And once again, he just receives a knock, but manages to keep it on the straight and narrow, and holds on to that P2 place as Henri Acide makes haste his escape up the road. The rest of the cars through. Now, who is that? Who is that, Nico? It is Ernst Kirkmeyer. I was right. So they're splitting the screen for you so that we can see what's going on in the pit lane as well. So Ernst Kirkmeyer with a problem. He pulled into the pit lane at the end of the rolling lap. It's always a rolling start in the Ferrari Challenge. And all the drivers getting through the turn 1 sequence okay. And Ernst Kirkmeyer looks like he's going to be able to return, which is good news indeed. I wonder if he had a deflating tyre perhaps on the formation lap. What a shame that was. Ernst Kirkmeyer on his way. So too on his way is Henri Acide. John Dillon running in P2. Then it's Tibor Valint. Then Andrzej Lewandowski, who was very impressive yesterday, ahead of Andreas Rizzi and Manuela Gosner. Now Sven Schomer has been overtaken by Alexei Komarov. Now it's fair to say Alexei Komarov had a really exciting race yesterday, sometimes for the wrong reasons, but nonetheless, he's brand new into racing, and he has put his Scuderia Prague into P1 in the 488s already. So, fair play to him. And Sven Schomer is P2, and Quinn Wittelsbach is P3. There's the number 160 car that you can see centre picture right now of Andrzej Lewandowski, who is really taking it here to Tibor Valent. Now, Tibor Valent has raced in the Ferrari Challenge for a number of years, taken a holiday more recently, but has come back, and his son Benz is racing as well, and you can see that Andrzej Lewandowski is really pushing Tibor. Tibor, very experienced driver and a former Ferrari Challenge champion, and they're diving up the inside there on Andrzej Lewandowski. Andreas Rizzi getting into this mix as well, and actually managing to put himself ahead of Andrzej Lewandowski. Meantime, Henry Assid and John Dillon try and build themselves as big a margin as they possibly can. Into turn one, Andrzej Lewandowski, a big dive around the outside. Is Manuel Agostner able to take advantage of that? Almost, and you can see Lewandowski is really challenging here, and I think there might have been just a little kiss between those two cars going into turn 2 and 3. And Manuel Agostner then hanging it around the outside too, I think, is Alexander Nussbaumer, and James Wyland's not far behind either, so plenty going on in this Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell race.
Absolutely, Lewandowski looks like he had more pace in the car even than Tibor Valent, but then Andreas Rizzi with a very opportunistic move and snuck in. Now Lewandowski has to try and get back into his original position rather than try and move forward, and there is one of our 488 competitors, Germano Salernitano, who comes into pit lane. As we saw, Kirchmeier, who was in the pit lane earlier. In fairness, he started from fairly back on the grid,
yes,
so he didn't lose all those positions, but obviously big gap towards the other Shell drivers having developed. Talking about big gaps, Henri Hassid already 2 seconds up the road.
Yes, his pace is undisputed, indisputed, I should say. No question about that. As getting very wayward there was Andrzej Lewandowski. There is Manuel Agostner, currently running in P6. Championship aspirations and hopes were dealt a severe blow yesterday when Henri Hassid sealed the championship. Manuel Agostner has had such a terrific year. Oh, getting very skittish under braking there was Tibor Valent, as he's being chased and charged now by Andreas Rizzi. And the back end of the car of Tibor Valent, just looking out there is Andreas Rizzi, taking a look at the inside of the final turn here, but nothing doing. And Tibor Valent continues. So, Henri Hassid then, 2.67 seconds to the good over John Dillon running in P2. Then it is Tibor Valent. And there, the rest of the pack come through into turn number 1. The first 6 or 7 cars have really broken away from everybody else, to be honest. And let's take a look at the start again from various different angles here. Good start from both those drivers on the front row of the grid. Now, this being something of a funnel going into turn number 1 here at the Nürburgring. It's not always a given that every driver's going to make it through there without a little touch, but actually it was a pretty tidy start, if I'm honest with you. And there you can see the 160 driver of Andrzej Lewandowski just making a little contact with the back end of the John Dillon car. We'll probably see it from here. I mean, he'd made a blistering start, Nico, and had vaulted 2 or 3 drivers.
Yeah, James Wyland was one who more bogged down. You can see he lost 3, 4, 5 positions initially. And that really brought him back. He's now running in P8. But there's, I think, a replay of that little bit of touch, first from Lewandowski, and then also the 1-2-2 car of Andreas Rizzi also getting a little bit too close for comfort. And there is a replay.
Well, that was, I think, Sven Schomer going through on Alexei Komarov. So Sven Schomer now leading in the 488 challenge ahead of Alexei Komarov, and then it is then it's Quinn Wittelsbach.
Yeah, so Schomer, who was on pole in class, has recaptured that
Yes.
position. Alexei Komarov was the pole setter yesterday. Didn't have a great race, to be honest, including some overtakes which he suffered, and also a penalty. So he finds himself in P2 with second down, so he has to make sure that he stays ahead of Wittelsbach and Müller, and then maybe he can set about attacking Sven Schomer once again.
Yes, Quinn Wiedlersbach showed his promise yesterday. There's no question about that in the race, but we will see. Sven Schirmer is certainly breaking away a bit right now. So Acid from Dylan from Valin, the top three in Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell. And then in the 488, it's Schirmer, Komarov and Wiedlersbach. They are the top three in the 488 Challenge. As we see them head across the line now. Sven Schirmer has set the fastest lap of the race. He's got relatively clear tarmac ahead of him as he runs into turn number 1 right now. Here are our top two. That is our P2 driver, John Dillon, and this is our P3 driver, Tibor Valent, ahead of Andreas Rizzi. Andrzej Lewandowski, then Manuel Agostner, Alexander Nussbaumer, James Wyland, before Ray Acosta and von Skeltermar, who are running P9 and P10. So Henri Acid then did enough yesterday. He didn't win the race, as Nico pointed out earlier on, but he did enough to seal the championship. And Henri has had a few clean sweeps, hasn't he, of winning a race, fastest lap and pole position, maximising his points haul on a number of occasions. That's very sad to see. Motohiko Isasaki, who just absolutely adores his racing. He adores everything to do with Ferrari, and he'll be bitterly disappointed that with 22.5 minutes and a lap still to run, his car is in the pit lane. So Lexi Komarov coming under some pressure now. There is no question about that from Quinn Wiedlersbach, but he's got Friedrich Muller right behind him as well. So it's a four-way fight going on here for P2. Meantime, Tibor Valent is under pressure from Andreas Rizzi. This is almost a three-way party for P3. Andreas Rizzi then, and Andrzej Lewandowski, and then Manuel Agostner behind. But Tibor Valent is made of stern stuff and has done a lot of racing in his time. And he holds on to this P3 position for the moment. Taking a look at the inside, Andreas Rizzi, I think he's a bit too far back, to be honest with you, and sure enough, he's not able really to do anything through turn number 1 on that occasion. So cars accelerate through turn number 2. It's a real sweeping turn, I have to say, and there is Henri Acid, who's just going about his business and focusing on nailing every apex. He's under absolutely no pressure whatsoever. Even so, he sets the fastest lap at 2:00.534. From the Coppa Shell driver Henri Acid, driving for the Kessel team. And just as I mentioned that, we go onto the Kessel pit wall. So they'll be pretty happy with his progress. His last lap, the fastest lap of the race thus far. So just over 21 minutes and a lap remaining here in the Ferrari Challenge. Let's have a look at the telemetry on the Henri Acid car. 5th gear right now, 200 kilometers per hour before down to 4th. On the throttle once again, 5th, 230 kilometers per hour, just over before he has to brake. Really good to see that telemetry being fed exactly the same information that the driver is receiving on their dashboard as well inside that 296 Challenge car. It's Acid from Dylan from Valent, the top three for our Shell drivers. For our 488 drivers, it is Sven Schirmer, Alexei Komarov and Quinn Wiedlersbach.
Yeah, as we approach the 20-minute remaining mark here in this race, 20 minutes plus 1 lap that is, and we get a series of track limit warnings for a number of drivers. That includes the likes of John Dillon and Tibor Valent, and it wasn't a big factor thus far this weekend, but in the early stages of this race, lots of track limits indication on a timing screen, and the rule is once you get to 3 track limit warnings, that's where it becomes dangerous and you start picking up penalties, starting with 5-second penalties. So the likes of Tibor Valent, who have suffered those track limit warnings, they have to be extra careful not to do it too often.
You're absolutely right. As you can see, Andreas Rizzi taking completely different lines to Tibor Valent in his quest to try and get by him, but at the moment, nothing doing. And Andreas Rizzi has also he's in this position where he's hunting and being hunted at the same time, because Andrzej Lewandowski is right behind as well. And there you can see Lewandowski is able to get a bit closer. So whilst Andreas Rizzi is trying to overtake and attack, he's actually needing to defend as well. There's a little bit of contact between Andreas Rizzi and Andrzej Lewandowski, and I regret to say, Nico, if he can't get that car out of that beached position in the gravel.
I think he's still got a chance. It's not that deep at that spot. Well, let's see. Obviously, that was very, very unfortunate, and we've got a yellow flag localized for the time being. And Andrzej Lewandowski, I think he has also sustained damage in that. And it was a very ambitious move. Not a spot where you generally try do the overtakes, but you know, fair play for trying. It just, you know, the two kind of ran out of room, but that's a different incident. That
that was Ernst Kirchmeier and
Motohiko Isozaki.
Motohiko Isozaki, and of course, I think Ernst was coming back, wasn't he, from having been in the pit lane. Now this is the move by Lewandowski and Andreas Rizzi. I mean, oh yeah, you can see that it's done significant damage to the front end of the Rizzi car. I think it's broken a steering arm, and obviously it impacted Lewandowski's car as well because he's slowed, and now we've got the safety car out, which I'm not surprised. I didn't think he was going to be able to recover it from there. So safety is always paramount, and that's a real disadvantage to the likes of Henri Acide and John Dillon, who'd built up reasonable margins of comfort between themselves and their pursuers. And that's all nullified now because we have the safety car out for the recovery of the stricken Andreas Rizzi car.
Yeah, and just to briefly go back to that Motohiko Isozaki and Kirchmeier moment, Motohiko Isozaki seemed to lose speed at that moment. I think it was Ernst Kirchmeier who was totally unaware, and he didn't expect that.
Change direction, didn't he?
Absolutely, and that, you know, he tried to take evasive action, just clipped the back of the car a little bit, went round, and by doing that, boomeranged back into the path of Motohiko Isozaki. So really an unfortunate one. Nobody's fault necessarily, but yeah, there is Motohiko Isozaki out of the car, and whatever the reason, he wears his heart on his sleeves very much, and you can see the frustration. And well, there we are, the Andreas Rizzi car in the gravel. Ernst Kirchmeier also, he is, as I think, is still going, and not necessarily very slow. We'll see if he can continue at race pace once we get going again.
Yes, fair point, Nico, fair point. We will see. Yellow flag flying, of course. The safety car is out. And there is Matt Griffin. Matt Griffin is driver coach to John Dillon. And of course, it is a driver coach's responsibility right now to be talking to their driver, saying, right, this is what you need to do. Try and keep some temperature into the tires. This is how you're going to handle the restart when the restart comes. Just under 16 minutes plus a lap. Incident involving cars 1, 2, 2, and 160 in turn 6 is under investigation. You can see that on screen. Henri Acide, John Dillon, Thibaut Valent. We're on board with the Richard Mille safety car, leading the cars around. So those drivers that had built themselves a margin, I'm thinking particularly of Henri Acide and John Dillon, that margin has gone away. It's also true to a degree of Sven Schirmer, of course, in the 488 challenges. The 1, 2, 3 in each of the classes. Henri Acide, John Dillon, Thibaut Valent for the Shell drivers. For the 488 drivers, it's Sven Schirmer, Quinn Wittlisbach, and Alexei Komarov. There's Henri Acide, there is John Dillon, there is Thibaut Valent. They're being followed by Manuela Gosner, who's P4, and she will see this as an opportunity, potentially, Nico, to get up the road and try and at least take a podium out of this weekend. So safety car remains out for the moment. You can see Thibaut Valent has moved up 5 places, Manuela Gosner 3 places. This is in the progress chart. And Sven Schirmer made up 4 places. Okay, while we have a safety car out, let's take a look at some of the e-sport activities of Ferrari. As you can see, it stretches across the regions, and I have to say, the action is phenomenal. As indeed are the graphics. I mean, it's absolutely brilliant. 3 gaming titles up for grabs, Racing on the Centre, Corsa, and also circuits. Imola, Laguna Seca, Misano, Monza, Mugello, Nürburgring. Thousands of drivers that have contested. Really is so popular. Just one champion, the Ferrari Esports Series 2024 regional finals. Do a search and find out more about it.
Yeah, there was just one of those, I believe, just the other day on Friday. I saw some of it and was really captivating action, to be honest, as is generally the Ferrari Challenge, a little less so when it's behind the safety car.
Yeah, and that's a shame, isn't it? But, you know, that's racing, it happens. And as I mentioned earlier on, that the safety of all the drivers is of paramount importance, and you can't have stricken cars around the track. So we just await the Andreas Rizzi car being recovered, and then we can go back to racing once again. But it's, forgive me, oft-used expression by my. It's going to be a dash for cash when it comes to going back racing. We're going to have 13 minutes plus 1 lap, even if we went back now, which we're not going to. We're on board with the Richard Mills safety car. No word yet from the race control building to say when the safety car is going to come back in. We normally get advice of that, and therefore I suspect it's not going to be on this lap, so it's at least the remainder of this lap, probably plus one more, I would think, before we see the safety car coming back in, which means we're going to be probably into 9.5 minutes of racing, potentially.
Yeah.
It's my dash for cash, Monica.
Yeah, it's generally announced before they reach the third sector, and
indeed,
there it is. There is the indication safety car will come in this lap, so very little in terms of preparation. You can see the safety car already pulling away, so that puts the drivers really on the spot now.
Yes, it does. So it is Henri Assi, John Dillon, Tibor Valent. They are the top three in the Shell drivers. Sven Schirmer, Quinn Wittlersbach, Alexei Komarov. Now, Henri Assi, only he can decide when to go, and he has gone. So too has John Dillon, who's anticipated Henri Assi's move pretty quickly and pretty well, I would suggest. So they head down towards turn number 1 now. You can see that Dillon has gapped Tibor Valent significantly. So good restart from both the drivers that were P1 and P2, and really remarkably, Nico, they've almost maintained the margin that they had pre-safety car, which was very, very good indeed. So then it's Tibor Valent and Manuel Agostner and Alexander Nussbaumer and James Wyland. They occupy the next 3 places.
Yeah, and Daniel Lewandowski has come into the pits. So obviously, his damage, which he sustained in the incident, also too severe to continue at race pace. So that means Assi, Dillon, Valent, Gostner, Nussbaumer, Wyland are our top 6. And as you said, Henri Assi really, really clever. In the chicane, he went for it. And that makes it very difficult for all the other drivers who still have to master the chicane to keep up with him. So very smart and very clever driving. John Dillon decently staying with him, but you can see Henri Assi is really, really stretching. It's already more than 1.5 seconds up the road.
So Ossi Assi from Dillon from Valent. For our 488 drivers, Sven Schirmer, Quinn Wittlersbach and Alexei Komarov, they are the top 3. They have managed to get past the cushion that they had, or the cushion that Sven Schirmer had of a Shell driver. So there is John Dillon then running in P2. There is Tibor Valent P3. Manuel Agostner up to P4. Alexander Nussbaumer is P5. Then it's James Wyland and Ray Acosta. Good showing from Ray Acosta running in P7. There he is in the 107 car for the collection Ferrari of Miami. Good to see Ray Acosta as around has gone Christoph Herney in the 162 car. The all-yellow 162 machine of Christoph Herney has gone around. Now, he was running P11, Nico. I don't know if anyone did go past him or not. Yes, they have now. Christoph Herney losing out on a number of places. I think it was maybe even Thomas Loflad that went by him. But anyway, back to where we're at as another lap is put in the book, and Henri Assi stretching his legs. Tibor Valent is getting a bit closer to John Dillon now. And there is Henri Assi into the very, very difficult turn number 1 here at the Nürburgring. So Henri Assi then with a margin of 2.887 seconds. Let's take a look here. So diving to the inside of Sven Schirmer. Beg your pardon, that was Quinn Wittlersbach who dived to the inside of Sven Schirmer, so I was right, and that's Quinn Wittlersbach who's taken over the lead of the 488 Challenge race. So that was opportunistic, but it paid off, and well done to Quinn Wittlersbach.
Absolutely, and well done also to the guys in the OB van for bringing that replay to us as we were looking at our overall leader, catching the change, and there is the driver coming into the pits, and that I think was just trying to make up.
Oh, and that's von Skeltermar, forgive me, cutting across you, making contact there with the car of Mick. I think that was Miguel Martin. Yeah, still plenty going on in this race. Henri Assey, John Dillon, Thibaut Valent, the 1, 2, 3. And there is Henri Assey, so a lot going on. Now, Quinn Wiedlisbach and Sven Schirmer have both got around Ernst Kirchmeier, who now is the cushion between the next best 488 Challenge driver, which is Alexei Komarov. So to the back straight comes Henri Assey, our race leader, into the chicane. And here then is exactly how Ernst Kirchmeier was able to put himself ahead of the car of Sven Scholl. Sven Schirmer in strife. That's why. And pirouetting around on the gravel, regrettably. So that means that it is Quinn Wiedlisbach leading in the 488. Now for P2, it's going to be Alexei Komarov and Friedrich Müller then, who move up the places, Nico, because of Sven Schirmer finding the gravel and finding his car pointing in the wrong direction, regrettably.
Indeed, and that means that Friedrich Müller and Peter Frascaro, who is P4 and around 1.3 seconds behind him, might develop into the battle for the podium position. As yeah, you can see, I mean, Ernst Kirchmeier is just so much quicker than the 488s, but there is also a slow 296 Coppa Shell car in the way, so that's obviously a little bit of a problem there. Alexei Komarov.
He's really having to take some avoiding action, isn't he, is Ernst Kirchmeier. Now, this is Alexei Komarov under pressure from Friedrich Müller, and in the mix there was Christoph Herney as well in the all-yellow car. He's not driving one of the 488s, he's in a 296, but... and then it's Pino Frascaro, who, as you correctly say, is P4 at the moment. Now, theoretically, for Christoph Herney, the 296 is quicker than the two 488 Challenge cars ahead of him, but actually he's still got to try and find a way by. Now, these two are not necessarily going to yield because they're in their own track position fight, Nico.
Absolutely, and it's a very relevant fight because it is for a podium position, so they're not going to just yield. Christoph Herney, as you say, he is so much quicker, more than a few seconds quicker per lap, but it's all very well being quicker when the two in front of you are weaving and fighting, and we've seen it before, coming up onto a significantly slower car, and I say that with all due respect, that has its own set of perils. So Christoph Herney has to pick a moment where the two are aware of him, and I think he's trying, as looking on the inside, coming into the first of the chicanes, if you will, and there the two are fighting, and there is no real space for Christoph Herney to just put the throttle down and go through.
Oh, Friedrich Müller to the inside here, Nico, and three abreast we go down the back straight, and oh, there's contact. That was a very scary moment, but credit to both the drivers. Herney makes it into the chicane, locks up, then shortcuts the chicane. He could be back behind those two again, and he is.
And I think he has sustained damage there, and you can see he's got some major issue, and that's what we were talking about. You can be so much quicker, but if the two are fighting, and that was exactly what happened, that can spell disaster for you. So we have those 5 488 cars, they are battling for positions, and that includes podium positions. That brings Tommy Lindruff back in to the fight.
He's battling with Pino Frascaro. Tommy Lindruff to the outside of the all-yellow car of Pino Frascaro. This is the all-yellow car of Christoph Herney, who's having to retire the car now. Oh, my goodness me. So much going on with just 4.5 minutes plus 1 lap remaining in this Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell race. I remind you, we have Shell drivers in the 296 cars, and we have the 488 drivers driving, of course, the 488 Challenge Evo cars. And what a battle it has been. Queen Wiedlisbach is leading, and this is where we were 3 abreast, going through that kink, and just a touch between the two of them. That could have been oh so more different. Thankfully, it wasn't.
Yeah, but you could see there, you could see the broken part of the bodywork, and that spelled the end of the race, unfortunately, for Christoph Hörny, and yeah, he's disappointed. I can understand. I think Alexei Komprov was aware that he was there. He just couldn't hold it to the inside just enough.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, under pressure from von Skeltermar right now. Von Skeltermar is really taking it, as you can see.
To Quinn Wittelsbach, a leader in the 488. But I think
that's wise of Quinn, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he's not involved in the battle, so it's a lot easier and more transparent a situation for everybody. Doesn't mean it can't go wrong, but obviously a lot easier to manage. And there we are with
Jim Weiland on the back of Alexander Nussbaumer. Look at this, side by side they go. Alexander Nussbaumer under pressure from the returning James Weiland, returning into the Ferrari Challenge. It's great to see James racing again. Alexander Nussbaumer, great driver as well. So two drivers here contesting that P5 place at the moment. Alexander Nussbaumer and James Weiland on board with the Rosso Corsa team on the pit wall. And lots of discussions going on. And James Weiland just taking a look at the inside of the Alexander Nussbaumer car. I mean, these are two very fair drivers. No question about that, but they're particularly they are intent on doing the best that they possibly can. They're uber competitive, and you can see Jim just taking a look at the inside. Alexander Nussbaumer running a bit wide around the chicane there, around the hairpin there. Jim Weiland is going to be on the outside now. Will he get the switch back to go to the inside? Well, Alexander Nussbaumer makes sure the door is closed, so he's unable to do that. Wow, what a race this is. Dominic, I've only got 2 minutes left. Yeah. James Weiland does go through. Yeah, good overtake from James, and I didn't necessarily think that would happen there.
No, not necessarily, but James Weiland really looked like the quicker of the two at this stage of the race, and had to have a few bites at the cherry, but then did it, and he's already putting some distance between himself and Nussbaumer to prevent any comeback from the Austrian. So job done for the time being, at least, for James Weiland. He is like 2.9 seconds behind Manuel Agostin, so it's going to be a tough ask within the remaining 90 seconds plus a lap to do something about it. That means Henry has just started a lap, so I think it's going to be 2-3 more laps potentially, but we will see where exactly and when he crosses the timeline to start the penultimate or ultimate lap.
James Weiland is such a humble driver. When I was speaking to him last night, he had a moment going through the chicane in yesterday's race, and I said, was something wrong? He said, yes, wrong with my head. I bounced across the curbs too much, Dave. It's completely my fault. Now, Tibor Valent has moved up 5 places. Manuel Agostin has moved up 3. But Ken Abe has moved up 8 places. We look at the progression on the left-hand side of the screen in the Coppa Shell drivers. Now, some of those have been advantaged, of course, of some falling over, but for the moment, Henri Acide leads by very nearly 6 seconds over John Dillon, over Tibor Valent. They are the top 3 in the Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell drivers. For the 488 drivers, it's Quinn Wittelsbach from Friedrich Müller and Alexei Komarov. And we have 20 seconds plus 1 lap remaining of this Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell and 488 race. We're live from the Nürburgring. And this is our Coppa Shell champion for 2024. He sealed that championship yesterday, but that hasn't made him any more or any less determined to take every single win that he can. Look how competitive he is. And it's 6 seconds ahead of John Dillon. The pace that Henri Acide has got is remarkable. He's done a lot of racing over the years, he has, and well, that is evident, isn't it, as he makes his way through the chicane. Perhaps not as aggressively as he did in the early stages of this race. Part of the reason for that will be tyre deg will have something to do with the grip that is afforded to him, as Manuel Agostin is really trying to take it to Tibor Valent now to get the final podium place. Manuel Agostin on the inside of Tibor Valent, this around the final turn then to start the final lap of this race, because Henri Acide has crossed the line. Therefore, we have started the final lap. There's John Dillon, P2, with a good margin over Tibor Valent, because Tibor Valent's rearview screen is full of the Manuel Agostin car. It's turn 1 they go. Tibor Valent runs wide, and that plays nicely into the well-manicured hands, if I may say, of Manuel Agostin. Tibor tries to come back across the grass, makes contact, Manuela tries to keep going here. I think both of them are in strife, and this is going to play into the hands, surely, of those that are following. Wow. So Manuela Gosner then and Tibor Valiant, were they coming together on the final lap? They were contesting the final podium place. Now, for the moment, Tibor Valiant is able to keep that car going, but James Wyland surely is going to have advantage. Here comes Henri Acide then, who's on his way to yet another race win. However, all the action is with Tibor Valiant and maybe James Wyland, and poor Manuela Gosner trying to nurse the car back, and you can see it's just not at race pace. So there's Henri Acide. Where is Tibor? Where is James Wyland? Where is Alexander Nussbaumer? So Henri Acide then, really, unless some real disaster befalls. And meantime, in the 488, the 201 car of Quinn Veetle is back. And here comes Henri Acide heading up towards the chicane right now. Keeping our eyes on the timing screen, it looks like Tibor Valiant is holding on to that P3 place. Henri Acide then was crowned the champion yesterday in Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell. And he heads towards the checkered flag right now and slows down considerably to really appreciate that flag being waved. John Dillon takes a well-deserved P2. Is it going to be Tibor Valiant or James Wyland?
And actually it is Tibor Valiant and Alexander Nussbaum, because James Wyland somehow lost 8 seconds in that second sector, so something must have happened. There he is, there he comes across the line, but something must have happened in that battle between Wyland and Valiant. We will surely get a replay, but we saw Henri Acide take the checkered flag, and there is Quinn Veetle. Give credit to our winner in the 488. There is another battle going on. The podium positions not firmly sorted.
Right, Quinn Veetle is back. Friedrich Muller, Alexei Komarov. As we lose the around the final turn, heading towards taking victory here. Quinn Veetle's back. Friedrich Muller and
Alexei Komarov.
Alexei Komarov just does it. But, and here comes Manuela Gosner trying to nurse the car back. James Wyland then, what happened? Well, here he is then, trying to make a move on Tibor Valiant, and as he did so, he lost the back end of the car, tried to control it, and now car 132 has picked up a time penalty, so that means that Alexander Nussbaumer is promoted to P3 effectively. So there's Henri Acide celebrating.
And actually the 132 car, obviously Tibor Valiant. So while all that was going on, and I don't know if it was for the James Wyland incident or something else, but I think it's maybe rather more with the Manuela Gosner situation, where he came back, and I think race control probably thought that, well, Manuela was actually further along and therefore should have had the right of way. But I mean, all things happening here in a final lap drama in the Ferrari Challenge, with Manuela Gosner looking like she was set for a podium. There is Spence Valiant actually crossing the pit lane, and the drivers come in. It's going to be a challenge for those who direct the drivers into Parc Fermé in terms of getting the right cars there. I think Tibor Valiant is looking to go straight, which where he crosses the timing line, the checkered flag, but now he's told to just go straight because, he is not going to be on the podium because of that 10-second penalty. There is John Dillon, good showing from him. Well-deserved second place. There was nothing you could do against Riazzi. I think it's fair to say.
And do you know what? That's the sign of mature driving. You know, I'm not going to try and contest that because I'm not going to win that battle, and therefore banking P2. So it was just frustrating right at the end of the race that we've got so many different competing things on our screens that we were trying to contend with. So 10-second time penalty for Alexander Nussbaumer's benefit, because Tibor Valent picking up that penalty, therefore Alexander Nussbaumer gaining a podium. A brilliant finish, may I say, for Ray Acosta as well, the North American racer who I think that's probably Ray Acosta's best finish in the season in Europe. Indeed it is. His confirmation of the classification: Henri Acide, John Dillon, Alexander Nussbaumer, Ray Acosta. Well done, Ray. Then Thomas Goester, James Weiland, Ken Abe, Thomas Loflad, Tibor Valent, Ernst Kirchmeier, ahead of von Skeltmar. For the 488 drivers, Quinn Wiedlisbach, Friedrich Müller and Alexei Komarov, ahead of Tommy Lindroth, Niels Branson, Sven Schirmer, Manuel Agostino, Pino Frascaro, Germano Salernitano and Christoph Herney, of course, were some laps down, and we lost the likes of Mikael Martin, Andrzej Lewandowski, Andreas Rizzi and Motohiko Isasaki. So, there, Quinn Wiedlisbach jumping out of the car. Look how happy he is. Delighted with performance, delighted with car as well. Well, we were treated to a humdinger of a race, that's for sure, with so much going on. And Henri Acide is victorious once again.
Henri, congratulations for this incredible for you. 2 pole position and 1 victory here at Nürburgring. How do you feel?
Very. I had a very amazing car. It was so easy to go fast. So for me, it's just the perfect fit. I love this track. I love this car. It's just marvelous for me. Thank you.
Thank you too.
Well done, Henri Acide. He has had a stellar season, that's for sure. Henri Acide, the winner from John Dillon and Alexander Nussbaumer. Hopefully we'll catch up with Quinn Wiedlisbach as well for the 488 race, because they've done a fantastic job. Fantastic job. I have to say, Nico, in both categories, both the Shell drivers and the 488 drivers, the racing has been compelling. So much going on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is the last race of the weekend, but I would like to have another 3 tomorrow. Maybe we can arrange that, because it's so impressive.
Let's hear from Quinn Wiedlisbach then, our 488 Challenge Evo race winner.
What an incredible race for you today. How do you feel to be here and to win in this historical track?
Of course, being the first time you're on the track, it's very special. I had to get a little taste of the track, but I mean, we had a very good result yesterday and today, and the team, we all worked so well together, put so much passion into the car. And now our team's mentality is not, we don't care about the ranking first, second, third, we don't care last. What matters the most is that we love what we do, and that we can show what we love to do and put our inner passion into every single puzzle piece, which then creates the beautiful picture.
Thank you so much and congratulations.
Thanks so much. Thank you.
Hey friend, you're a poet and don't know it. As the cars set off then on the Coppa Shell and 488 Challenge race, it was going to be a fun one at number 1. Henri Acide with a very good start. John Dillon with a good start as well, taking it to Henri Acide around the outside nearly. A little touch there from the car of Andrzej Lewandowski, but no harm done. All cars through the first turn 1 sequence relatively unscathed. There was going to be quite a battle going on with Andrzej Lewandowski and Andreas Rizzi and also Tibor Valent, all arguing over the final podium place, and Ernst Kirchmeier going all the way around Motohiko Isasaki. Regrettably, that would be the end of Motohiko Isasaki's race now. Andreas Rizzi and Andrzej Lewandowski having a coming together, which spelt the end for the Andreas Rizzi race, and unfortunately would really hamper Andrzej Lewandowski as well. There was lots going on in the 488 Challenge race as well, as Sven Schirmer losing out on the lead of that race, and well, von Skeltmar having a coming together with Mikael Martin, and trying to take advantage of that was Thomas Goester, and you can see that Sven Schirmer in all sorts of strife in the gravel as well. He did manage to get it pointing in the right direction once again, and then Christoph Herney in another all-yellow car, but a 296 car from the Coppa Shell, he had picked up damage. So there was lots still going on right till the very end, and Tibor Valent and Manuel Agostino they were both arguing and fighting over the final podium place, and unfortunately it didn't pay off for either of them. But Henri Acide took yet another victory for the Coppa Shell drivers, and for the 488 challenge drivers, it would be Quinn Wiedlisbach victorious. Well, there you can see the race statistics for the Coppa Shell and also the 488 categories. So 16 laps in total. Fastest laps came from Henri Acide and from Friedrich Müller. We'll be heading up to the podium next. 2 podium ceremonies to come, of course. 1 for the Shell drivers and 1 for the 488 drivers. And we will be seeing Henri Acide, John Dillon and Alexander Nussbaumer. And we'll be seeing Quinn Wiedlisbach, Friedrich Müller and Alexei Komarov for the 488 challenge drivers. From our studio position, we can see the drivers are being hustled up the stairs towards the podium. And just while we await them arriving, Michele Mambelli will be bringing the drivers out onto the podium. We can reflect on the P1 place for Henri Acide. Yet another P1. I'm taking nothing away from him because he's achieved a significant amount of victories. 5, I think, this season, if my calculations are correct. I hope they are. And this Quinn Wiedlisbach, I felt, and I wasn't being at all demeaning when I said you're a poet and don't know it, because I felt what he said in that interview was really poetic, Nico. You know, it's all about passion as far as he is concerned for both him and the team. Right, I can hear Michele Mambelli now bringing the drivers out on the podium. Here comes Alexander Nussbaumer then. I think, to be fair to Alexander, it's probably an unexpected and bonus of a podium. For Great Paul Nottingham taking P2. Well done, John Dillon.
And the winner, the champion, Henri Acide.
And Henri Acide then on the top step of the podium.
National anthem.
And here comes the national anthem.
La
Dr.
Marsigliese,
Stefano watching
applausi,
the podium
applausi,
celebrations.
applausi.
And that's an
Sul
example
podio
of the
anche
camaraderie
Kessel
that you see in the
Racing
Ferrari
Team
Challenge.
Manager.
It's absolutely wonderful.
I trofei d'onore sono
Of course,
presentati
Kessel
da
Racing
Willem
also going to
Egger,
be
Ferrari
represented on the
Central
podium for the
Europe
Coppa Team
Regional
Award.
Manager. The trophy
And
presented
that's
by
also
Willem
very
Egger,
inclusive, because behind
Ferrari
every
Central
successful
Europe
driver,
Regional
as
Manager
Wilhelm Hegger, the
for
Ferrari Central Europe
Alexander Nussbaumer, third on the
representative,
podium.
makes the trophy presentation
Willem
to Alexander
Egger
Nussbaumer.
For the second driver on the podium,
Yeah.
John Dillon.
Teams and drivers, it's a combination effort.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why you often...
Well done, John Dillon. He takes P2. And well done to Henri Acide, who takes P1. Yes, so it's so often why.
Yeah, it's so often you see the drivers who are successful give credit to the teams, and those who make a mistake kind of apologize to their team that
Yes.
they didn't reap the profit of all the efforts of the team. So, but those three certainly did. They got onto the podium, well deserved, and Henri Acide, yeah, he won not only today, he won the championship and the world final title.
Yes.
Imola, that's going to be the big prize that he still covets.
Right, who's going to be first with the champagne? It's Henri Acide. Here are the top 3 cars and drivers. Then Alexander Nussbaumer driving for Go Motorsport and Haupt Racing Team takes P3. For Great Paul Nottingham, John Dillon takes P2. And for Kessel Racing, the champion driver adds another win to his tally for 2024, Henri Acide. Next target, world final race. And in the Drivers' Championship. There you can see Henri Acid P1, Manuel Agostina P2. There's just 2 points between Manuel Agostina and John Dillon, who vaults Tibor Valent into P3 in the Drivers' Championship. Then it's Alexander Nussbaumer, Thomas Gostner, Andreas Rizzi, and Christoph Herney occupying the top 8 positions in the Drivers' Championship. James Weiland, P9, then Fons Geldman, Motohiko Isosaki, Ernst Kirkmeyer, and the rest of the order you can see on your screen.
Yeah, so the P2 and P3 will still be very hotly contested when we get to Imola, even though P1 in the overall championship has been settled.
You're right. Okay, I think it's time for the 488 podium now. Alexei Komarov then. This guy has never done any racing, and he's come into the Ferrari Challenge and takes P3 for Scuderia Prague Racing. Friedrich Müller, he wants P1, but today he's got to settle for P2. And on the top step of the podium, well done, Quinn Wittlisbach. See just how delighted that young man is. So many young talents, Nico, in the Ferrari Challenge. It's a joy to behold that there are undoubted talents that will make a big name for themselves in motor racing, and we see a lot of them here as, once again, the Ferrari Central Europe Regional Manager, Wilhelm Heger, making the trophy presentation. First of all, to Alexei Komarov. That's richly deserved, truthfully. Then to Friedrich Müller.
And the big trophy for the winner.
And of course, the big trophy for the winner. Quinn Wittlisbach. He holds that with some pride aloft. And of course, as always, a Coppa team trophy to be awarded as well. And, of course, who could forget Lucio Vigani from Pirelli Motorsport, of course, making the Pirelli Award as well. And Lucio will be heading off to Indianapolis straight after this event for the next round of the Ferrari Challenge North America.
Already got a winter coat on. Not sure if he needs that in Indy.
What forecast I looked at, no. So double bubble for Quinn Wittlisbach, who takes 2 trophies. Who will win the champagne race? Well, it is Friedrich Müller. Taking P3 for Scuderia Prague Racing, Alexei Komarov. Taking P2 for Go Motorsport Engstler, it's Friedrich Müller. And for CDP D&C Racing, it's Quinn Wittlisbach, victorious. Let's take a look at the Drivers' Championship right now. For the 488s, it's Fabrizio Fontana missing this weekend. He's already been crowned champion, but Tommy Lindroth is P2 in the championship with a reasonable margin over Pino Frascaro, it has to be said. Alexei Komarov is up to P4 in the Drivers' Championship. So, yeah, still some racing to be done.
P3 still up for grabs, and we crown all our winners across all our regions at the World Final.
Yes.
So that 3rd spot is going to be coveted.
I remind you, the World Final Finale Mondiale tickets on sale right now. And it will be fantastic to see you there. We've had an epic weekend here at the Nürburgring. Let's relive some of the highlights. And from Nico, and from myself, and from the entire production team, thank you for watching. Bye-bye for now. We'll see you in Imola.